This and every episode of REKT Podcast is brought to you by Beaksy Exchange, an upcoming cryptocurrency exchange built in collaboration with One Market Data. Beaksy is bringing legacy finance speed, power, and sophistication to crypto for the first time. With 225,000 transactions per second per pair, comparable to NASDAQ, 15 order types on day one, with 25 order types on full rollout, and a dedicated customer support team, Beaksy is setting itself apart from the competition. Check out Beaksy today at Beaksy.com and pre-register today at Beaksy.com/registration to get your free Beaksy Exchange tokens. That's Beaksy.com, BEAXY.com.
This is Trader Mayne, and this is REKT.
Hello and welcome to REKT Podcast. I am Bunchu Betts alongside my other fabulous hosts, Chamber, Cynthia. Oh, it's just me and our guest tonight, riding solo. I have a wonderful guest with us though, Trader Mayne. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am living the life, as they would say. The REKT life, pretty much, actually. So I'm excited to talk to you, so maybe you can give me some tips on becoming a little less REKT, and hopefully for our listeners out there, they'll learn something as well. So I'm glad to have you. We appreciate you coming on. I'm sorry that we couldn't get you the full crew, but we've had some last minute. Cynthia's child army sprung a project on her that's due tomorrow, so that's fun. And Chambers off like winning some fucking Circle of Excellence award. He is at his company national sales meeting, and they gave him a major award. So I mean, I always thought he was excellent, but Twitter says the contrary. But,
there you go. Priorities, right?
That's right. Listen, I see where I stand.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
But we appreciate it, man. Let's get right into it then. So we always talk to our guests and we ask them their origin story. How did you get to where you are now? How did you get into crypto? What got you interested? Where did it all start?
Sure. So I've been in the space for a while now. I initially got introduced to crypto in like 2012, 2013 by a friend of mine. And unfortunately, I didn't take his advice very seriously. This was, my buddy who would always come to me with these like MLM scam, pyramid scheme kind of things. So he'd be like, hey man, you got to come to this meeting with me. There's free food. And 5 minutes into the meeting, I like look over it. I'm like, dude, this is a pyramid scheme. You know what I mean? So he'd always come to me with these wacky, zany things. So of course, when he told me he had found the future of money and it was called Bitcoin and it was going to be on the internet, I didn't really take him too seriously.
You're thinking, how long do I have to sit here to get a free pair of golf balls?
Exactly. Well, there wasn't even any cool prizes in this one. So I didn't take it too seriously, unfortunately, in 2012 and 2013, because, that would have been nice. But it was kind of towards the end of 2013 when the first bull run, if you even want to call that, kind of started, when price went to about like $1,100. That's when I started paying attention. I was like, holy shit, you might be onto something. So I, as you do, made a Twitter account. I followed anyone with a bunch of followers, and I just kind of, I poured a bunch of money into it, and I just bought whatever anyone, told me to buy on Twitter. So I kind of went through
as we all do when we start out, right?
Exactly, right? I mean, Actual Advice BTC, Crypto Cobain, these guys were around back then. A lot of the guys that are now considered OGs, they were shilling shitcoins back then too. So, I felt
mock us all.
Yeah, I fell for all of the traps, but at the time it was a bull market. It was much like it was, I guess in what do you want to say, September of 2018 or September of 2017. Like anything you bought went up. So even if you didn't know what you were doing, you could still make money. And so I accumulated, I think about 40 Bitcoin when it was worth like $1,000. So as you would do at that point, I quit my job. I told my parents that I was going to become a trader. And I was like, okay, now I'm living the life. So I basically would just smoke weed all day and stare at charts and buy and sell Litecoin and barbecue coin and pure coin and every other fucking shit coin that there was, most of which are not around anymore. And as you can imagine, when the market started to turn around, I realized very quickly I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Sure. In that time, I fell for some scams and just, I was on Mt. Gox. That took me for a couple of Bitcoin, and things went down very quickly. Let's put it this way. Within a few months, I was back at work.
Oh, no.
And back to the regular life. And I basically capitulated. There was like a spike where it went down to like $100 and then back up to 200. And I was like, fuck this. And what I had left, I sold. I went back to work and I basically told myself I never want to hear or see another Bitcoin chart again in my life.
So this was when? This was what year?
This would have been 2013 to 2014.
Okay.
Took probably a year off, and then in 2015, going into 2016, I actually started learning about Forex. I got introduced to a couple of guys in that space. ICT was one. Kazanomics is another guy I followed. Trader SZ. And I started learning to trade other assets, and that's kind of where I really cut my teeth and started to figure out what I was doing from a trader's perspective. I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't, in crypto. I was trading, Forex and learning. I was on baby pips, and then, I paid for different mentorships and courses with, varying levels of success. And I started to kind of get an idea of what I was doing, and started to get actually pretty good at it. And then that kind of led me to, where I am today. In 2017, I was like, well, let's see what's going on with this Bitcoin thing. I think prices were right around where they are now. And I got back into it, and at least this time I was much better equipped, and I was able to sell at or near the top, and reduce my level of wreckage as much as possible. So that kind of awesome. Got me where I am today.
So now, are you full time now again?
No. So I mean, I trade quite a bit, but what you'll learn when you become competent and consistent in trading. Is you don't need to stare at the charts all day. Anyone who's staring at the charts 10 hours a day to me is a gambler, a degen, as we would call it in the crypto space. You don't need to do that. You can trade very successfully and work full-time. Could I do it full-time? Yes, I actually did trade Forex for a year full-time. I didn't really enjoy it. It's very stressful. You have to have a pretty significant stack, right? When you think about it, right? Let's say your bills, total, rent, and everything's $3,000 a month. There's a lot of pressure to pull out $3,000 every month in profit. Doesn't matter, if you know what you're doing or not. Like, you have to have a pretty decent stack. You have to be able to handle drawdown, and you have to be able to consistently pull money out of the market. It's not an easy thing to do. I was able to do it for a year. But then I was presented with another opportunity with a couple buddies of mine from university. We started a headhunting company and have been doing that for the last 3.5 years. So a lot of the things that I think people get into crypto for and trading for is they want the freedom of being their own boss, right? They don't want to answer to anyone. Yes. They want to be able to work when they want, how they want, and they want to buy a Lambo and make a bunch of money. So I have a lot of those. I don't own a Lambo, but like I have a lot of those things. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I mean, I make my own schedule. I'm able to take days off when I want, go on vacation when I want. I can work remotely, and I'm fortunate and blessed enough to be successful in what I do. So to me, it just doesn't make sense to trade full time. What I do in recruitment is at this point risk free. It wasn't risk free when I started it, but now I have an established business that's generating guaranteed income every year, where no matter how long you've been trading full time, I mean, you can. There's that element of risk to it, So wasn't for me, wasn't for my personality, but I mean, if you're doing it full time and you're on that grind, more power to you.
Yeah, I can imagine it's pretty tough to do full time for exactly the reason you said. It's like there is immense pressure to, I guess probably even take trades just because you feel like you need to have that sort of, full-time income where you can take money out of the market. Did you find yourself forcing trades when you didn't have a setup you liked or something or anything along those lines?
Oh, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. So, I mean, when I started trading full time, I don't think I was at the level that I should have been. I was good. I knew how to trade, but I hadn't gotten my system to a point where it was repeatable. I knew what I was looking for every single day. I would come in, and if it wasn't there, I would walk away. I knew what I was doing, but that added pressure of being like, okay, I've got bills to pay. Like, if anyone's looking to trade full time, I'm telling you right now, 99% of people who try and trade full time will fail. There's people who will trade to supplement their income very well. I think that's a larger percentage of people. But the people who can actually do it full time, it takes a special breed. It takes a certain type of personality. It's very lonely. You're sitting at home all day. It sounds super cool to wake up at 6 a.m. and be like, oh, I'm just going to put on my house coat. I can, smoke a bowl first thing in the morning. No one can tell me what to do. It's like, yeah, but then you're never leaving the house. You know what I mean? You're glued to that screen. Sure. So I wasn't quite ready. You got to have a significant stack. I'm not saying like $10,000. You need to have more than that in your trading account to consistently pull out a few $1,000. So I mean, if you have a $100,000 account, you need to get 3% every month to make that $3,000 nut to cover your expenses, right? And that's just to cover your expenses, right? So I mean, it does take more than people think. I don't think it's as easy as people think. I don't think people should jump into it until they're really ready and confident and they have a proven track record of success doing it part-time, because you totally can. And I was doing exactly that. I didn't have a big enough stack at the time to be like, okay, well, I've got this month's rent covered. I was doing exactly that. I was like, holy shit, rent's due in a week. I need to take some trades today. So I'd be on the 15-minute chart, like trying to pull out some sort of trade out of my ass and probably taking a trade I shouldn't have just because I needed the money, right? So it wasn't the right environment for me. It wasn't conducive. I definitely think I could do it now because I think I have, a couple years of just profitable trading under my belt. But, it's not easy, man. I have a lot of respect for people like Tom Dante and, WMDX4, Trader SZ, these guys who are trading full time. That is what they do. It's not an easy trade.
Yeah, talk about that as far as time frames, because I feel like a lot of people start the same way I started, where you start looking at charts and all of a sudden everybody wants to be a day trader, right? And you start looking at 5-minute charts, 15-minute charts, and what I noticed was I didn't need to do that as much. It was when I was taking trades on longer time frames that I felt like I was much more not only relaxed and comfortable in the position that I was in, because you don't have to sit there and monitor it, but talk about that a little bit and how you approach that.
Sure. So I mean, for those 9 to 5 grinders, right, you can trade any of these markets just by focusing on the higher time frames, right? So part of the problem with crypto is I think it attracts a lot of gamblers. Like, a lot of people come from poker, from sports betting, right? And you have this need, but any professional poker player, they treat their poker like a business. You know what I mean? They're not there just playing for fun and be like, I'm just going to go all in. Fuck it. They're very calculated. They have risk management. They have strategy. They know all the probability. They know the odds. But then they'll come to crypto and they'll be like, fuck it, it's internet money, and like they'll degen on it. And I don't understand that. You got to treat this like a business. You got to have a set of rules. And so if you want to trade, price is fractal, right? Like, I can trade the 5-minute chart, and then my high time frame analysis can be the 4-hour chart. And then my medium term can be the 1-hour chart, and then I execute on the 15-minute. That's no different than analyzing the weekly, the daily, and executing on the 4-hour. It's the exact same. Obviously, just the time frame for the moves to play out is different. So for me, that's the time frame I prefer: weekly, daily, 4-hour. Very rarely will you see me execute on anything less than the 4-hour, maybe the 1-hour. And the reason being is there's only 2 4-hour candles in the workday, right? So I can check the chart in the morning, and then I can check the chart at lunch, and I can check the chart at the end of the day. Obviously, I'm addicted, I'll admit, so I do it a lot more than that. But that's really all you need, right? So you can really make it work for you. So I definitely suggest for people who are trying to, do this while working, like don't get caught up in the low time frames. Like you said, it's noisy. Things are happening fast. You're in a position, if you're trading on the 15-minute chart, you can get stopped out, in an instant, especially when you're trading on a site like BitMEX, right? So you gotta find a situation and a strategy that's going to work for you and your lifestyle. That's why I don't really believe you can kind of copy how anyone else trades, because maybe you are, ADHD, and you are like super hard time focusing, and you like things quick and fast, and if you're a runner, you're a sprinter. Okay, maybe the low time frames are better for you. Maybe you have a full-time job. Maybe you don't want to have to stare at the charts all day. Maybe it makes more sense for you to be a swing trader and focus on those high time frames. So I think the market offers, opportunities for everyone. And to me, the low time frame shit, I mean, unless you have the ability to stare at the fucking chart and you want to be, in and out of trades within an hour, have at her. Personally, not for me.
I hear you. How about where would you recommend for somebody new to kind of start their learning process? Because you talked about hey, you jumped on Twitter and you see all these people posting charts, and your inclination is to either copy trades or things like that, when you may not know what you're doing. So I know I did it when I started. So talk about maybe some of the best resources you've learned to use.
Sure. So, obviously I went through basically every scam, shitty mentor, paid group, shit service you can imagine. What I will say is the best things I've learned in trading, I paid for. And that's just a fact. Very early on, I paid to be in a guy named Kazanomics Group, whose account got banned on Twitter. He's a guy who got a lot of hate, but he is one of the people who taught me the most about trading and really put me on the right path, and also a lot about life. He was a very good mentor for me in that sense, and I paid to be in his group, and I have zero regrets about that. I paid to do a guy named ICT's mentorship, another guy who gets a lot of hate, but at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. Guy knows what he's talking about. I paid to be in Trader SZ's group. I've paid for Chris Laurie's stuff. I paid for a lot of people's stuff. I'm a firm believer, like, don't do anything you're good at for free. Just because someone knows how to play guitar, they're not obligated to teach you for free, because and they don't. Trading should be no different in my eyes. So don't be afraid to pay content, but look for someone who has, verifiable record. You can go back on their Twitter or whatever, read reviews. If you're very new, you don't want to pay for anything, we luckily have some great names in the space. Guys like Crypto Cred. He put out a study guide recently that is absolutely killer.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Super understandable, super basic, and that will take you from 0 to 60 in terms of your learning in a very short period of time. Great place to start, great resource to start. Everything is available for free if you want to, do the digging. My biggest advice would be keep it simple. Try and stay away from noisy indicators. If anyone is trying to sell you on some sort of system that's going to do it for you, they're lying to you. It's just, trading is fucking hard. That's just the way it is. So if you see anyone kind of marketing a signal service or an indicator that's going to tell you when to buy, or some sort of bot that's going to automate shit for you, 99.9% of the time, that's bullcrap. So I would stay away from that kind of stuff. Start with the basics, support and resistance, marking levels on your chart, watching the market. There's no better teacher than experience and screen time. And don't be afraid to get in there and lose some money, right? I'm not telling you to go degen your account on BitMEX, but you can. Losing money is part of the process, right? Most successful traders will tell you this. I make money with an under 50% hit rate on my trades. Seems counterintuitive, right? But that's the definition of risk management and the nature of, when you win bigger than you lose. So, don't be afraid to lose money. Don't be afraid to get into the charts and just try shit. Experience is going to be a great teacher as well, and just chart time. So
talk about that risk management piece, because I think that's super important too, right? So, and that's something that personally I struggle with all the time. So talk about, kind of your strategy there, what kind of discipline like it takes and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So, I mean, it's tough, right? So crypto is a fucked environment to learn in for many reasons. The manipulation so all markets are manipulated, whether you want to believe it or not. Everything you do in this entire world is manipulated by the powers that be. Whether you're buying a car, you're buying something at the grocery store, you're paying tax. There's manipulation going on everywhere, and it's very present in the financial markets. It's a lot more discreet, I guess, in the FX markets because there is regulations, etc. Right, but at the end of the day, there are large players controlling the market, and moving price, and it's asymmetric information. They have information you don't. The idea is you want to be with, as they say, the smart money, right? So that's one of the issues learning with crypto. The other one is most people get introduced to crypto in a bull run where everything is going up. So they don't really have a concept of how to trade things that are going down. And they just assume, okay, well, I put 1 Bitcoin into this and a week later it was 2 Bitcoin. So, that's fucking sweet. When their entire portfolio was that 1 Bitcoin. So in reality, you went 100% in, on some coin, and yes, you got 100% return, but if you were wrong, did you lose all your money? So for risk management, as tough as it is to hear, I would suggest if you're learning 2 to 3% of your account, don't risk any more than that on a given trade. And people will be like, oh, well, my account's 1 Bitcoin. I'm not going to make very much. It's like, well, that it is what it is. You're not supposed to, anyone who wants to get rich quick, those people also get poor quick usually as well when the market finally turns.
I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's very easy to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to get 1,000x on an altcoin and, I'll be laughing. And it's like, yeah, but people are greedy. Just it's human nature to be greedy. It's the same reason why people bought Ripple at 30 cents, watched it go to $3, and then held it all the way back down to 30 cents again. So, yeah, you were up 10x, but did you sell any? It doesn't matter how much you were up unless you actually sold any. So, risk management is super key. I would say once you're comfortable with what you're doing, I mean, maybe risk up to 5% on a trade, but that's a lot.
I think the problem that most people have, because, you hear it over and over again from all the successful guys out there, and it's, hey, risk, Cred, I was listening to him talk, and he's like, hey, 2%. And if I'm feeling crazy, 4%, and it's the discipline that you need to have to do it. And I think that's the difference between, the guys that are great and the guys that, get wrecked.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have
that's
to.
Always my problem.
You have to stick to your plan, have rules, write them down. I have my rules written out and printed, and next to my computer that I trade at. And I've been doing this 6 years now. So you got to have rules, you got to have discipline, because making big wins means nothing if you're not doing it consistently, right? Consistency is what pays. If you want to make this a career or at least a sustainable long-term side income, you have to be able to consistently make more than you lose. And you're never going to do that unless you have a set of rules, you have discipline, you got to be patient. So only take a trade if it ticks off all the rules. If it doesn't, like let's say you see a trade forming, but the potential reward is $100, but your risk is $100. Well, my minimum usually is at least 1.5 gain, like risk to reward. So if it doesn't fit the rules, I don't take it. I wait. And that's, a very common thing of an experienced trader is they're not worried when they miss a trade. I run a Discord and I have people saying, well, Mayne, this Bitcoin went from 3,600 to 3,900. And I'm like, okay. Like I was asleep or I missed it. It's like the trade didn't set. Who cares, right? Yeah, like the markets aren't going anywhere. There's so much opportunity out there. Like the better you get, the less you'll worry about catching every move, and you'll just know like there's always another trade, right? So discipline, 100%. Like Cred said, yeah, risk a little bit. People have no idea what they're doing in this space when it comes to risk management. Like not only are you only supposed to risk, let's say 2%. Per trade, it's like, okay, well, what if you're taking multiple trades? Well, now do you have a risk limit in terms of your total, like in a day? How much can you be willing to risk?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or you have
20, if you're in 20 trades.
Exactly. There's people who own like 15 fucking altcoins right now. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, do you have any idea?
So I was gonna ask you that. So are you just trading now, a couple specific markets, or are you still dabbling in all the alts and all that kind of stuff?
So since my experience in 2013, 14, I very rarely trade any altcoins at all. The main things that I trade in crypto are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. Occasionally, I'll take positions on the other ones that are offered on BitMEX, but very rarely, because just the level of fuckery, whether it's the systems overload, whether I can't log into my account,
Or
whether
Arthur Hayes just fucking you.
whether I literally have a stop, price trades below my stop, doesn't execute, and then executes way below where my fucking stop was, and exactly, I'm just giving money to Arthur. Like, it's, to me, I just have no interest in that. I actually trade more Forex still to this day than I do crypto.
Oh, wow, okay.
What people don't understand about altcoins, right? Because people are trading. So you have leverage on Bitcoin, right? So leverage is used for a few things. One of them is to, reduce your counterparty risk. So things like Cryptopia don't happen. You don't have all your money on an exchange. You only need one Bitcoin on an exchange, and then with 10x leverage, you can trade as if you had 10, right? So that's one reason, is to better deploy, and the second reason is to better deploy your capital, right? So you don't need to put 10 Bitcoin on to hold a 10 Bitcoin position. You can only have one and use leverage. What people don't understand about altcoins is altcoins are essentially trading Bitcoin with leverage, right? So when you're trading XRP,
and this is hard for people to understand, because it took me a really long time to realize what I was doing there also. And
exactly.
I think it's super important. So go ahead with that.
So, I mean, if you're trading XRP BTC, not only are you trading an asset that is changing in value versus Bitcoin, Bitcoin itself is also changing in value. And the gains and losses, since these things are essentially derivatives of Bitcoin, are magnified, right? Like a move from 100 to 110 on ETH is a lot different than a move from 3,000 to 3,010 on Bitcoin, right? So the fact that you see people trading 100x on a fucking shitcoin that already is inherently a leveraged, product relative to Bitcoin, it's kind of nutty to me. And I think I was fortunate enough to learn that early on. The upside is huge, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's super sweet to buy, a Verge and have it go 1,000%, right?
Yeah.
But, you're not selling 10 Bitcoin worth of Verge at the fucking all-time high. I guarantee you that. You know what I mean? So, like, of course, it's nice. I have no problem with when the market sentiment and cycle is in the right stage, that there is going to be a move in alts to, of course, have some alts. But I would say have minimal exposure to alts, because, if Bitcoin shits the bed, it doesn't matter how good the market structure on that altcoin was looking, it's going to shit the bed even harder. Personally, I don't hold any altcoins long term, other than XRP and Ethereum. I had a couple coins in this last bull run, a few of which I did pretty well on, and a lot more of which I just got absolutely fucked on. Some are, delisted now. I don't even know where I can sell them. They're just dust, right? So to me, and as someone who has a full-time job and a company that I run as well, I don't have the time to be looking at 50 different charts. I think like Rand Newer was like, you need to be diversified in 50 to 70 altcoins. It's like, yeah, that's a surefire way to get fucking wrecked. Like, so to me, it's like, sure, if Bitcoin is going to go on a bull run and it looks like we're gearing up for an alt season, I will scale into certain coins. But I mean, I'm happy knowing that Ethereum will probably 10x from here in the future. And be worth $1,000 again one day. You know what? It's not going to be 100x. I don't really fucking care. I don't need to chase that fucking high, because I know how hard those ones can be. If I had a portfolio of 10 Bitcoin, I might take one Bitcoin and be like, okay, this is my kind of fuck around. I'm going to put it into a variety of little alts and see if one of them hits. But personally, I'm not really a big like altcoin gem finder. I think all of those coins are shit anyways. If you guys want to do a fun experiment, go to CoinMarketCap and look at the historical market cap. Go back to like 2013, 14, 15, 16 and look at all the coins. The big ones are still there: Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple. But just look at how many coins were around 3 years ago that are nowhere to be found now, right? And then ask yourself, is that shit coin you're holding going to be around 2-3 years from now or not, right? So maybe you bought the bottom, but why is buying the bottom matter if your coin's not going to exist 2 years from now, right?
Totally. So where do you kind of see the market headed here with Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of those big guys? We've obviously been in a pretty long bear market here. So where do you kind of see us going from here, a little short term, a little longer term, and things like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm one of the believers who was one of the, I guess, like bear-minded people at 6K. Every time we came to 6K, I was like, guys, this is not going to last forever. We are making lower highs every time. And then we finally cracked. The good news is the selling appears to be slowing down. So if you look at like the high time frame chart on Bitcoin, like the weekly or the daily, the move from 6,000 to 3,100 was straight down, basically, right? It was little consolidation, huge red candles, right? Exactly.
It's like nuts.
So now we are getting some sideways and a kind of ranging environment. And if you want to go back and compare this to the bottom in 2014, 15, that's what happened. That's how the market bottomed. Everyone wanted, when price was falling, I saw so many people trying to call bottom all the way down. And then it's like, first of all, it's like, why? Like, who cares if you missed the exact bottom? Just buy it when it's in an uptrend again, right? Like, you know what I mean? If Bitcoin's going to go to at least $20,000 again, and the bottom was $3,100, but at $4,000 we're confirmed in an uptrend again, I don't care if I missed the first $1,000 of the move. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I would rather have that confirmation. But so the good news is we are kind of going sideways. That's how a bottom forms. The bottom was not going to be a dump and then a fucking reversal, and then all of a sudden the new bull run started. As much as people on Twitter were posting like, oh, it's going to be a V bottom, fucking reversal, whatever it is, that's not how the market bottoms. It needs to squeeze more people out, not just in terms of price decline, but in terms of lack of volatility and just sideways, and time needs to pass, right? Sure. The last bottom took like a year to form. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, a lot more ranging for the near future here, just sideways, and price maybe ranging between 3,000 and 5,000 for the next 6-12 months. Who knows, right? The market can stay irrational longer, and you can stay liquid, is the old saying. So
what's that spot where you're looking for and you're gonna say, hey, yep, we just smashed this level, it might rock?
So I mean, do I think the bottom is in yet? I don't know. I'm not here trying to call the bottom. Right. I do think 3,000, if you are a long-term investor in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and shit like this, that you're like, okay, I think my time horizon is 2-3 years, I think these prices are cheap. That said, Ethereum, if it drops below $80, it's going to $50. Are you going to shit your pants if it goes to $50 because you bought it, a bunch of it at 80? Or are you going to realize that, well, okay, my end goal is for it to go back to 1,400, so I'm not really worried. So I'm not scaling into spot quite yet. I'm going to be the type of person who waits for it to, kind of be in more of an uptrend. I mean, here's the thing. You know how long 6K was support? Yeah. Does that mean we're just going to fucking smash through it and it's not going to be resistance, right? Like, we could literally go up to 6K, reject, and come all the way back down.
Right, exactly.
Right? And that would be very bearish. So, personally, 6,000, 6,300, which is kind of the last swing high before 6,000 broke. If we get back above there, to me, that's going to be us saying, okay, we're now starting the ascent to potentially a new market cycle. But, be patient. If you go look at any other asset class, to do a market cycle like we saw, like you look at gold, for example, it's always a good comparison to Bitcoin. It was like 20 years for that market cycle, from like the 80s to like 2000s for that market cycle to finish. We did that in 11 months. So the fact that you might not be able to wait like a couple more months to, actually buy this thing when it's in a fucking uptrend, you know what I mean? So it's funny, the human nature, and that's why that Wall Street cheat sheet works, right? Is because human nature can be graphed on a chart. This is something I learned 100% from Kazanomics. You want to see what a graph of people fucking each other and being greedy looks like? Look at the chart of Bitcoin.
That's totally true. All right, that's a good spot for us to get into some other stuff here. We wouldn't be REKT Podcast if we didn't ask you some of your best trading REKT stories. I'm sure, being in the space from 2013, you might have a couple. So what do you got for us?
Okay, so I mean, obviously, I was part of the Mount Gox fiasco. So I had
How bad?
5.15 bitcoins on Mount Gox.
Okay,
So
that's
it
rough.
didn't seem too bad at the time, but I mean, at all time high, that's a lot of money.
We had crypto Christopher Walken on. Are
Yeah,
you familiar with him? He's
I do. Yeah.
he lost almost 1,000 in Gox.
Oh my God.
It's fucking nuts, dude.
Jesus Christ. And he hasn't, and he's still around. I mean,
He said he took a very, very long break after
yeah.
that and didn't want to see anything for a very long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, mine's not nearly on that level. I was on,
Still, I'd kill for 5 more Bitcoin.
yeah, I was on sites like Cryptsy. I lost coins on there. I was in a couple pump and dumps on a site called MintPal. There's a site called MintPal back in like 2014, and basically it was a shitcoin exchange, kind of like Binance, or maybe even worse, like Cryptopia. And basically, anytime a coin got listed there, there would be insider, there was these pump and dump groups that would say, okay, we know the next coin that's getting listed on MintPal, right? And you would pay them like a Bitcoin to find out. And then they're like, okay, this is the coin. So then you would go and buy a Bitcoin worth or whatever. And then as soon as it got added, you transfer your money over and you see it going up and you're euphoric. But by the time your money clears, this thing is dumped below the price that you bought it at. So
Oh, yeah.
I had that happen a few times. So that was never fun.
That's like those Palm Beach confidentials.
Yeah,
You remember that stuff?
exactly,
That's
exactly
what that was. And by the time the group you were in got it, it had already been to like 100 other groups.
It was already done, exactly.
Yeah.
So like you were not getting the insider information. And then this must have been when price was near all-time high, and I had quite a few Bitcoin. I got introduced to this site called Just Dice. This isn't trading related, but I mean it's crypto, and it's basically a fucking scam. But basically guess like high or low. There's still game sites called like Satoshi Dice or something like that. You guess like high or low, and it's a randomly. First of all, it's like a slot machine. It's like how much can you trust it when it's literally a computer? You know what I mean? Like how do I know this is fair?
Yeah.
And what you would do is you would basically like martingale it, right? So if you lost, you'd just double your bet, and double your bet, and double your bet. And I got introduced to this site, and I had a heater. Like I think I turned 1 Bitcoin into like 5 in my first like couple days at it, and then I got addicted to it, and I probably lost 10 Bitcoin, maybe even more, on that site, and that was awful.
So it's funny you say that. So have you seen on Twitter the people talking about Real Hero and the Moon REKT game?
I have. I don't really know what it is, but I see the post.
So this is I've been playing it. I've been doing the beta testing for it, and it's actually really awesome. It is super addicting, like you said, with the dice, except it kind of takes that higher or lower concept and actually makes it applicable to trading. And so essentially what it is you got a pool of players in here. You got your stash of hero that you can bet with, essentially. And if they do different time frames, so there's a 5-minute, a 10 or a 15-minute, and an hourly, right? And so basically you're guessing, hey, based on what I'm seeing here, is the next candle going to be they call it moon or REKT. So is it going to be green or red? And then based on the sentiment in like the room, you could either kind of fade the sentiment and you get a multiplier, or you're with everybody and you're just kind of getting what your back was. And so you said the thing about the martingale, and I was playing it earlier, and I was sitting on a REKT. I was like, all right, this is gonna be a red candle, and it wasn't. So I just had the same bet. I did it again, and it wasn't again. And so then I started martingaling it, and I'm like, okay, next bet I'm gonna double it. It's gonna come eventually. It hit 11 green candles in a row. It was insane. I mean, I'm playing with free beta money, but it's like it was. I've never seen anything like it, and I was just like, I can't believe it. Like,
oh my god,
it was pretty funny. But it was exactly what you said.
Yeah, I had situations like that where you're just like, it can't happen again, right? Like I can't be wrong.
But the funny thing about this is like, this is actually the chart, right? So it is fair. You know what I mean? It's just you not guessing the right way.
Oh man, that's rough. Interesting.
It's pretty funny. So if you, honestly, it's really cool. I think it's going to be a big thing. We actually have them coming on.
They're definitely right on trend for the type of participants that are in the crypto market, which I would say a large part are degenerate gamblers who want to just win money, right? So I mean, it's funny. A lot of the people who I help try and learn to trade, you have to get them out of those tendencies that this is like you're gambling. At the end of the day, trading is like making an educated guess, right? You have all of these factors that are leading you towards a decision, and you're just playing the probability. And if X, Y, and Z line up, your probability of it going up is this, but it can still fucking go down. And that's just the way it is.
And that's interesting because it's kind of like what this is, right? You could be looking at the chart and saying, all right, based on all my things that I see here, I can make an educated guess that the next couple candles might be green,
Yeah, exactly.
And then, as opposed to just saying, all right, higher or lower, which is basically just, and then like you said with the dice thing, how do you know it's even fair?
Oh my god,
they know you're better at it.
I was younger back then, and I had just gotten out of university, so like the idea of just being able to basically just like make money. And what was weird was back then is it wasn't as easy to cash out like your crypto like it is now with services like Gemini. Coinbase will deposit right to your account. There's ATMs and shit. Like back then you had to there was a site called Local Bitcoins, which I think is still around, but you had to go through like all of these hoops to basically like take a picture of your wallet and then like your actual bank account. You're selling it to another person. They're like a third party, non-involved, that they hold the money kind of as the intermediary, and then once they have e-transfer you the money, they release the crypto, things like that. So it was funny because I was like, oh, well, I'm making this money, but I never actually cashed any of it out. That was the weirdest part. It was all imaginary. You sound like
everybody in 2017.
Exactly, right? So it's like you gotta pay yourself, and that's one of the things I tell people. Like, I'm like, hey, next time like things are going wild, like if you're up 3x, like you better be taking some off the table. Like you better be, at the very least, getting yourself where you're risk-free, meaning like your initial investment at least is out, and then you're free rolling. Because like people will be up 10x and they'll go, well, what if it's going to 20x?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like as soon as you hear yourself start talking like that, that's when it's time to fucking sell.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. So those are some good REKT stories. We appreciate you sharing them. We're going to get to a couple of items in the news. So we got a couple of things here that kind of touched on what we've been talking about a little bit. You touched on them, so I just want to kind of get your opinion here. So, the first one here is this is from ccn.com. Binance foils Cryptopia hacker by freezing stolen crypto. So you kind of touched on both of these things earlier. You mentioned Cryptopia, and then we were talking about Binance a little bit. So I guess if you haven't seen it, Cryptopia was hacked, and it was a bunch of funds were stolen on there. It said the breach moved at least 2.4 million worth of Ethereum tokens to other wallets, and so basically it came out, or CZ from Binance tweeted this morning, just checked. We were able to freeze some of the funds. I don't understand why the hackers keep sending to Binance. Social media will be pretty fast to report it and will freeze it. It's a high-risk maneuver for them. So first of all, one, why is it social media's responsibility for you to monitor what's coming into your exchange?
Yeah.
Two, what are your thoughts on these exchanges? Being a trader, you kind of touched on it nicely before with, all right, how much are you keeping on your exchanges? Because if you're obviously actively trading it, versus, what's your advice to people there?
So, I mean, to me, one of the weakest parts of crypto is the exchanges, unfortunately, right? Like it is sad that, like the best platform for margin trading, or the highest volume one is BitMEX, where there's literally things that are just blatantly, fucked and scammy as hell happening, and people just put up with it. Like, it's unacceptable, but I mean, you kind of have to play the cards you're dealt, right? So I mean, that is one of the reasons to use leverage, so you don't have to keep your entire stack on there. I'm a big proponent in having, you know, a hard wallet, and not even like a wallet on your computer, like a ledger, right? Like cold storage. Like, keep your money off those exchanges. Shit cannot be trusted. I mean, Bitfinex, very popular exchange, it's been hacked, right? So you know, nothing on the internet is super safe, and especially if you and beyond just like the exchange getting hacked, like, how good is your OPSEC? You know what I mean? What if you get hacked? What if you what if you Ian Bellina it, and you have an Evernote with all of your fucking passwords and codes on it? You know what I mean? So it sucks. I feel for people. I've been on exchanges where people have gotten rinsed. It's a sad part of the space that's a thing. But you know, it's a lesson, right? Don't keep a bunch of money on an exchange. Like, definitely not an amount where if you were to lose it, you're going to be like ruined. That's for sure. It can be tough, right? Like, because what if you have a bunch of shit coins on Binance or on Cryptopia that don't have the ability to have an offline wallet? You know what I mean? So I think it sucks. I think it's a shady part of the space that is, you know, ruins the legitimacy of it in a lot of ways. You know, people are always like, you know, fuck the banks and you know, decentralization. It's like, well, guess what, man? I don't remember the last time your fucking bank couldn't give you the money that you had in there and withdraw it at a given's notice. You know what I mean? So we're not there yet. As much as crypto's been around for 10 years, personally, I don't think crypto does anything better today than it did 10 years ago, really, or that it's going to replace money in any sort of way. You know what I mean? Bitcoin is a pain in the ass to use and pay with. There's still scams happening. There's still hacks happening. I mean, it's the Wild West still in many ways. I mean, be careful. You know, not a lot you can do. My advice: don't use sites like Cryptopia. We do this thing on here where it's called the REKT index, and we have people sometimes give us you know, some altcoin picks, and we threw some, you know, some small change money at it, getting some moon bags. We actually had a couple Cryptopia alts, so I'm not sure if they still exist or not. I assume they do not. That sucks.
Yeah, so we'll see about that. And then our next story here, because we've touched about BitMEX and we've touched about kind of your opinion on altcoins. So this is also from ccn.com. It's from Arthur Hayes. He says, "Gravity's a bitch. BitMEX CEO mocks crypto firms for failure of quote unquote poo-poo ICOs." So basically, him and the BitMEX team did this study of 108 tokens which at the all-time high were worth $80 billion in total. And basically he said, the study here says it's just appalling to see, you know, what these ICOs allocated to their teams. So of that 80 billion, 21.5 billion was allocated to teams. The issuance to the team post ICO was 2.7 billion. So about 25 billion total. And then since then, now that 25 billion is worth about $5 billion. So it kind of just goes to your point about, you know, your opinion on some of these alts. It's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, tell me the value of anything, any crypto. Like, tell me the actual value proposition of crypto.
Right.
Like, you can't really, right? Like, what is the actual value that makes it worth anything? You know what I mean? Like, if crypto, if it were to just disappear, I mean, would anything really happen if Ethereum just disappeared and went to zero? Like, would it affect the world in any sort of measurable way? Like, is there any sort of value proposition for it? Or is it all just perceived value of the market participants? You know what I mean? Like, anything is... This is another thing I learned from Kazanomics. A lot of these high-level, brainy things about the market. I mean, the guy's a genius with that stuff. I suggest you guys check out his website. He's got a very cool blog. But, you know, the value of anything is what people's perceived value of it is, right? Like, the market is a zero-sum game. So when you sell that Bitcoin at $19,000, someone bought it, right? So someone's perceived value of Bitcoin was 20,000 and yours was 20,000 to sell. You're like, it's no longer worth this. I'm selling it. Someone's was like, you know what? It's worth 21,000, so I'm going to buy it. Right. And then when the market starts crashing, that guy who said, well, it's going to sell for 21,000, he puts his sell order up, no one buys it. You know what I mean? And they puts it to 20, and then no one buys it. And they puts it to 19.5, and then that's how you see that rapid decline, right? So
it's all trying to get the liquidity out.
The market at any given point is just people who have different perceptions of the value of whatever the asset is at that given point in time. And two parties have different perceived values, and that's what makes the transaction happen. At the end of the day, it's zero, right? So to me, any ICO is a complete scam. The only thing that Ethereum did is allow every single coin to make their own coin on the blockchain, right? I mean, that was kind of the value prop of Ethereum. It's like, hey, you can start your own coin. To me, it's like, what the fuck do any of these things do? Not everything needs to be fucking tokenized. Like,
sure.
I work in recruitment, and I would love to work with more crypto companies because I'm passionate about the space, and I like to think I'm relatively knowledgeable. But what sucks is a lot of these companies, the first thing they do is like, okay, this is our idea, and we're going to have an ICO. It's like, well, why not just have a cool idea around blockchain tech and crypto and do whatever you're going to do? You don't, like, sometimes the token doesn't actually add any value to what the company is trying to do, but, you know, it's a cash grab in a lot of ways. It still happens now, but it was even more like ubiquitous in 2013, 2014, where they had all these pre-mines. I don't follow ICOs at all anymore. I used to back in the day because I wanted to get rich quick, right? I'd be like, oh, I'm buying this ICO at 3 cents because it's going to be going to $1 as soon as it goes live. And then I found out that the guys who created it were holding 20% of the supply. And as soon as it went on the exchange, they sold it all, right? So, you know, like Vitalik never thought Ethereum was going to go to $1,400. You know what I mean? So to me, I think inherently all of these ICOs are stupid. Like I come from a family of dentists. None of them accept Dentacoin. Okay, so I called my brother up.
Still early.
Yeah, I called my brother up. I was like, "Hey, man, so Dentacoin, what do you know about it?" He's like, "I don't know anything about it." I was like, "Well, can I use it to like pay for a filling?" He's like, "Fuck no." So you know what I mean? Like, why do we need a coin that people use to pay to go to the dentist? You know what I mean? And so, of like any of the coins that I see having like real world use cases, like Bitcoin is a dinosaur. It's way too fucking slow. Like if I want to go to the Bitcoin ATM and take out money, it takes like 30 minutes, right? I got to punch it all in, and then I got to wait for it to confirm, right? So Ripple, as much as people hate on it, is the one coin I can see as like, okay, well, at least they're going to the banks and partnering with the banks. The idea that you can send international, anywhere across the globe, a money transfer almost instantly, right? Maybe there's some value there. Who knows? But the one thing they got right is they're going after the banks, which is like at the end of the day, as much as you want to say like, you know, long Bitcoin and short the bankers, it's like you think that the powers that be and the banks and shit like that are going to let a bunch of fucking neckbeards who own some coin be like, this is the new universal currency. Fuck you. Like guys like Pomp. Like, that guy's a twat. I don't give a fuck. Like, that guy's like, oh, he's like, well, if you're not... And I think he had his other partner who's like, if Bitcoin goes to 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, I'll be here. Will you? If you're not a real fucking investor. I was like, no, you're just dumb because you're holding something that's going down in price and actually has no real value at all. So... to me, it's like at least Ripple has that part right. It's like if you want distribution, if you want mass adoption, guess what? You're going to need the people on your side that actually control the money and the supply. Like, you know what my mom is never going to do? Send a fucking transaction in Bitcoin. Even when I send a transaction in Bitcoin, I check my key so many times to make it right, make sure it's right, make sure my wallet address, if I'm sending a large amount, I'll send a little amount first to make sure it worked, right? And then I'll send the rest. Like, what happens if you fuck it up? You can't call customer support and be like, hey, my Bitcoin transaction didn't show up. I typed in the wrong address. It's like, well, tough nuts. You know what I mean? So in a lot of ways, I don't think that decentralization will ever work. I don't think it will ever get mass adoption unless banks and, you know, the government are involved. So that's the one thing that why I think Ripple, at least from a marketing perspective and maybe one day a real world use case perspective, might last long term. But to me, basically every ICO it's a scam. Like I know people who bought the ICX, I think it's called ICO, and they were up like 3,000%. It's like, okay, that's super sick, but you're still holding it. So like, you know, like who gives a fuck? What does it even do? What is it ever going to be good for? You know what I mean? You come up with a white paper and then you have a token and then it ICOs, and you look at Dragon, you look at Verge, you look at all of these things. Like, when's the Haven or whatever it was called, protocol dropping? That's going to save the price. And I was like, dude, all of this is a bunch of bullshit to me. It's just a chart, and it's going up or down.
So
when it's going up, buy it. When it's going down, sell it.
Yeah, so basically your opinion is you're in crypto for a means to trade, essentially.
I think if you're in crypto for anything other than the money, you're wasting your time. I do think, yes, there's a community here, of course. I think people like you know, guys like Peter McCormick, what Bitcoin did, doing these podcasts. I think the community aspect of it.
We had him on our last show that dropped on Tuesday, and his opinion of this whole thing with Ripple and Pomp and all that is just polar opposite of yours, which is really funny. So people this week will get literally both sides of the coin.
I love Peter. I met him in Vegas. I think he's a lovely dude, and I get the community aspect of crypto, right? But at the end of the day, it's like you have to be here to earn money one way or another, right? Like, yes, it's all fine and dandy to make friends on the internet and stuff. I mean, maybe I'm just a cynical son of a bitch, but like, to me, it's like, what is the point of being here and doing all these things if you're not trying to make some value for yourself? Time is money. Could your time be spent better elsewhere earning money? And as much as I would like, all of us to get fucking rich together, not everyone is getting fucking wrecked this entire bear market. Like, as much as everyone's like, oh, we're in this together, bros, we're all going to make it. It's like, no, you're fucking not. You know what I mean? Like, you holding it all the way down is someone selling it to you all the way down. And when you're buying every dip as it continues to drop, that's someone cashing out on their short the entire way down. The market is a fucking vicious place. And as soon as you realize it's just lines on a chart, it's binary, it's up and down, and you start viewing it in that manner, and that's how I view the market, I think you'll be a lot less stressed. I mean, in terms of like, is Bitcoin going to take over the world and replace currency? I don't think so. That's just me, and if people hate on it, they can hate on it, but I'm here to make money. I've made some friends along the way. I love people like you who are trying to do good things for the community and and connect people and just provide entertainment, because to me entertainment is something of value, right? But like, if you think your ICO shitcoin that you bought is gonna fucking change the world, it's like, oh man, you were in for a rude awakening. But you know what, 95% of people are sheep, so that's just the way the world works.
That's funny, man. Dude, all awesome stuff, and we appreciate it, and I definitely appreciate your time here. We're gonna do one more thing here because we're running a little long. I want to respect your time. So actually, we'll see if we can fit them both in. But the first thing I want to ask you, being a trader, and after this conversation, we're gonna do some trading. Would you rather?
Now, we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours.
Okay.
So I got a couple here that I just wrote down off the top of my head. So I don't know if these are any good, but I just want to, let's see. Would you rather never use a stop loss or always have to risk a fixed amount?
Oh, always have to risk a fixed amount.
Okay, tell 100%. Me
why. Because if you don't use a stop loss, you can literally blow your entire account, right? If I have to risk a fixed amount, at least if I'm consistently winning more than I'm losing, because I still get to determine, where my target is and where my stop goes. Compound gains is a hell of a thing. If anyone wants to realize how quickly a bunch of 2% wins can add up, just take a calculator, take $1,000, times it by 2%, whatever you get, times that by 2%, do it over and over and over again. It adds up quick.
That's an awesome answer, awesome explanation. All right, here we go. Ready? Would you rather never be able to trade, and I'm going to change this a little based on the conversation we just had. So, would you rather never be able to trade, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple again?
Sure.
Or only be able to trade shitcoins?
So I can't trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Ripple.
Yep.
Or I can only trade shitcoins.
Right.
So I'm fucked either way.
Well, so the way I figure you're going to go with this would be, and if I were you based on this conversation, I would choose never trade Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, because you also trade Forex, right?
I would rather, never trade those crypto pairs again in order to never have to trade shitcoins. I would rather not trade at all than only be able to trade shitcoins.
All right, there you go. All right, and then last would you rather here. Would you rather have to all in every 10th trade or automatically lose 10% every 10th trade?
Oh my God, crypto cred is rolling over in his grave right now. So, I mean, here's the thing about losing money. So it really depends on how good you are of a trader. I mean, I'm going to say lose 10%, which sucks. I would have to get a calculator and do the math out. The thing about capital preservation that people don't realize and why they get wrecked so hard on shitcoins is like if you hold a coin down 90%, you have to do 900% to get back to break even.
To even, right?
Right. So that 10%. So capital preservation is everything in this game. But having a risk potentially going all in. I mean, can I go all in and then I'm wrecking the rules of the game? I'll say lose 10%.
No, you could qualify.
Because I guess like if I had to go in all in on every 10th trade, I would go all in and then I would just cut the trade immediately. Because
all right, so you would cheat and cut it right away.
I would cheat, exactly.
All right, so no, you can't. So I'm gonna go with your 10%.
I'll go with the 10% loss.
All right, and then all right, one more quick thing. If you got a couple more minutes,
yeah, of course.
Because I think this would be fun. The other thing I want to do here is we always like to do a little draft.
Yeah.
So we do these drafts on these shows. Sometimes it's sometimes it's just goofy shit like we did Christmas movies with Ledger Status. But you and I are going to draft our favorite crypto. Our favorite crypto Twitter traders, I guess. So I will give you the first pick, and we'll go back and forth, and let's see if we can pick 3 or 4 each.
Okay. And
then we're gonna put out. And then what we do is we put out a poll, and people vote on the poll and see who wins.
Sure. Okay. So my first pick would be Kazanomics, and that's not one that's going to get a lot of votes. A lot of people probably don't know who he is. Especially if you're relatively new, but this is the first guy that did TA in crypto before anyone else. The Wall Street cheat sheet that you see everywhere, everyone using in crypto, Kaz made that shit popular, and if you go on his website, no one has called the macro moves of this market and every market I've ever seen like Kazanomics with insane amounts of precision. It's literally trillions of dollars in price movements over the years. It's absolutely nuts. The guy's a machine.
That's awesome. I was kind of around with like the end of him. You know, like right when
unfortunately that's a bad image to go out on.
He was combative and getting his ass was getting wrecked by
I understand.
Lots of haters
I understand why he was so combative. He had a lot of racist and just bigots, and I mean people they doxed his kid and shit. Like people went way too far with him. So I think he just lost it, which I understand. I think it was fully justified, and it sucks what happened because that guy brought a lot of value to the space, and now his account's private. So tough, guys are only fucking themselves.
All right, I'm going number 1. We've mentioned him on this show for me. Would be Crypto Cred because he was
the gentleman.
Yeah, he was responsible for a lot of my early learning, and like you said, he's got that. He just came out with the study guide. That's all free stuff. I think it's a really great place for someone to start that, like you said, doesn't want to pay for. Anything.
I'm good friends with Cred. I've met him in person. He is an absolute gentleman. He's a great trader. He's a great educator, and he's one of the best people we have in this space. So 100% great pick.
All right, who's your next?
I got to take the cashiest boy, Cash.
I was going to take him.
Yeah, it was tough. I kind of wanted to take him first, but Cash is an absolute machine. He's been shorting ETH, I think, for 150 days in a row, and he's been right every single time. So I love his stuff, man. It's no bullshit. I love his attitude. He's got something figured out. He doesn't play any games. He's not trying to, copy anyone else. He has his own system that works for him, and clearly it's working very well. He's absolutely crushing it. So that'd be my number 2 pick.
All right, that's a good one. He was going to be on my list. I will go. I'm going to go with somebody that I've been talking to more recently. We've had him on the show. I'm going to go with Ledger Status, another one of those guys that I like a lot and learned a lot from. And he was awesome when we had him on the show. So I'm going with Ledger. Should we go 3 or 4?
We can do 4. I got time, man.
All right, let's do 4.
My girlfriend's not glaring at me yet. Who else could I pick here? I mean, there's so many people who are, incredible traders that I deal with like on a daily basis. So, I'm very spoiled in that sense. Oh, God, this is tough. This is very tough.
I might have a tough time going 4.
I know, and hopefully I'm not getting any DMs from anyone who are pissed off because I didn't pick them or anything like that. But I'm going to take my boy, Jules. He's been on an absolute tear recently. I think he goes by Salsa Tequila on Twitter, or Jewel in brackets.
Yes.
So he was he's a newish trader. I mean, he's been around since 2015, but I think he really started coming to his own over the last year. He is the reason I like him. I mean, at first, I probably wouldn't have picked him a year ago because he was very much kind of degen, high risk, extremely high risk for high reward, obviously, but almost gambling. But this guy's self-taught. He puts in work like nobody I've seen in this space, 10 hours a day in front of the charts. And he is one of the most verifiable people in this space. He literally live streams his computer screen 24/7 with his positions running. Wow. He's currently doing like a 3 BTC challenge, and he's already doubled his account in like a week.
I've seen this, and that's pretty awesome. I didn't realize he streams his stuff.
He's on Twitch. He streams his screen 24/7 usually, so you can literally see his positions running at all time. There's no bullshit there. He's self-taught. So I love the route he's on, and I think he's only going to get better. So he would be one of my guys who I'm taking early in the draft, and I know he's going to be, one of the top franchise players in a few years.
All right, I gotta take. I'm gonna take Tom Dante, Trader Dante.
Oh fuck, that's a good one.
You left him there for me. I had to take him. I mean, I don't know if there's an explanation needed on that one. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and
he's hilarious.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Tom. So if we're going for not just crypto focused guys, I would take Trader SZ. He is a killer. He trades a little bit of crypto. So he's super precise, price action guy. Trades FX like a beast. Super accurate. So that would be my next pick.
Gosh, I don't know who I'm going to go with for a last pick here.
You can pick me, bro.
Well, you know kidding. What? I think I was thinking about picking you. I thought you'd pick yourself, quite honestly.
I was going to ask, but I was like, is this super douchey? And I was like, yes.
You know what? I'm going to fucking pick you. I'm picking me.
My man. I didn't twist your arm at all.
No, I thought you were gonna pick yourself. I really did, because I was in a Telegram with our other hosts, and Chamber literally goes, you should draft him before he does.
That's so funny.
So that's funny. All right, so your list here: Kazanomics, Cash Boy, Salsa Tequila. What's the other? Jewel.
It's Salsa Tequila. I'll chat you his handle so you can see it. But I'm pretty sure I follow him. It's Salsa, then Tekila.
Awesome, and then Trader SZ. Yeah, and then I've got Cred, Ledger, Dante, and Mayne. I pandered to the vote.
You got a stack team.
I pandered to the vote, so, as I'm one to do on these drafts. But anyway, man, that's going to do it for us. I really appreciate all your time. I want to definitely give you the floor to tell people where to find you, anything, if you want people to contact you, who you look to talk to, things like that. So, floor's yours.
For sure. So, I mean, you can find me on Twitter at Trader Mayne. I'm under the same username on YouTube as well. I have a free Discord. You can DM me on Twitter if you want an invite into there. More than happy to have any people on my YouTube. I do market reviews.
To that.
Yeah, just shoot me a message. I'll get you in there. We got a great community of guys. You can check me out on there. I do market reviews on YouTube and stuff like that. And then I also have a group that I run with.
Is your YouTube also Trader Mayne?
Trader Mayne, yeah. Mayne is Mayne, like Gucci Mane.
Cool.
Yeah, and I have another group that I run with a couple guys in the space, Trader Scarface and Mr. TA, who goes by Technical Anal.
I almost took Scarface. I was thinking about it.
Scarface, as much as he might be prickly on the outside, the guy knows what the fuck he's doing. And the thing is he gets so much hate online, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, dude, if you think Scarface actually gives a shit, the guy lives on a beach somewhere in Southeast Asia, and he's awesome. Drinking dollar beers and shooting the shit on Twitter, calling people cunts. I think it's hilarious. He doesn't take himself seriously, so if anyone is offended by him, don't take him as seriously as you are. I promise you, he's not taking it seriously, and he knows what the fuck he's doing. So me, him, and Mr. TA, we run a group called the Bitcoin Trade Group. Bitcoin TG is our Twitter handle. You can check us out there. And we do daily videos, educational content, stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. So, again, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it here. I apologize our other guests couldn't be with us, but that's going to do it for us. As always, subscribe, give us a review on iTunes. Helps a lot. Join us in our Telegram group, t.me/rekt_podcast. Follow us on Twitter at rekt_podcast. And until next time, don't get wrecked, and that is financial advice.
Thanks, guys.